As individuals, we can do a lot to protect our planet. But as communities, we are even more powerful. It's not always easy in today's world to find community, but it starts with connecting, listening, and participating. Welcome to Eco Africa. I'm Chris Alems, coming to you from Lagos, Nigeria, and I'm joined by my co-host, Malama Mukonde in Lusaka, Zambia.
A warm welcome from me too. Let's take a look at what's coming up today. A West African cotton crop is helping revive a traditional craft in Senegal. The Bee Run, creating a buzz in Kampala, Uganda. How citizen science is helping improve air quality in Lagos. Here on Eco Africa, we know how important it is to include everyone in the conversation about climate change and environmental challenges. But these days, television doesn't always reach the people the way it used to. More and more often, people are choosing on-demand digital platforms. Now, these can offer storytellers the freedom to dig deeper, give locals more of a voice, connect more directly with followers, and build a community.
In this Nairobi studio, change is in the air. Abigail Kima is hosting the podcast Hali Hewa, which means climate in Swahili. Since 2022, Abigail has hosted voices from 20 African countries, connecting scientists, farmers, and environmental activists through one message: Africa must tell its own story. She got the idea after visiting a global climate conference in Scotland.
It felt like a very disconnected space from the realities of African communities, Kenya, for example, that are grappling with impacts of climate change. And so I really wanted to bridge that information gap between a very elitist space and communities who deal with impacts of climate change on a daily basis.
For today's guest, climate advocate Kaluki Paul Mutuko, the stories on Abigail's show resonate deeply.
Abigail is using the platform to break down hard jargons into simplified climate messaging that can reach many different people, especially in the community. And so to me, I found myself watching this program to also relate with the communities and understand climate change from a local perspective.
Kaluki is an environmentalist who leads campaigns to protect and restore important natural habitats. One of his projects, Inuka, was in the Ondiri wetlands west of Nairobi.
Ondiri is a very important wetland, and it's faced a lot of serious chaos, destruction, forest fires, people encroaching into it, greenhouses that are really contributing to its dwindling. So we funded them to really see how they can, create awareness programs and trainings and allowing people to see the importance of that ecosystem.
I know Inuka really did quite a bit in Ondiri, and I got to witness that.
The two set out on a field trip to see the impact of the community efforts. Locals have been sensitized about the importance of this freshwater ecosystem and now help to protect it.
The issue was not so much more about us having an activity for the wetland itself, but an activity around the wetland, because a lot of it has been or was encroached for farming, people cutting it down to build, or just also looting, grabbing the land.
Being here at Ondiri today, one thing that has stood out for me is the fact that so many of us are unaware of where our water comes from. Really, truly understanding what water sources mean, because the most we know about water for a big population of us is the water in our taps. But it's interesting to be at Ondiri wetland today and to understand just how many people this particular wetland is serving in terms of water provision, and not only water, but just the survival of the ecosystem.
The once endangered area is slowly regenerating, also helped by people like Robert Mayer. He has been tackling the massive waste and sewage pollution and encroachment on the area. After a decade of restoration efforts, the community-led transformation is becoming visible. Robert says that Abigail's platform has inspired many to do more to protect Kenya's fragile ecosystems.
Hali Hewa comes in so handy to make these young people understand or to answer the question, why are we doing what we are doing? Why are we planting the trees? Because some people, they just hear of planting trees and they think it's just something you just do. But it's critical that they can help us.
The podcaster wants to keep such issues in the public eye. Away from the wetlands, she continues her mission to inspire, whether in her studio.
Well, thank you so much for staying tuned on the Hali Hewa podcast.
Or here at a conference in Nairobi, Abigail Kima shows how storytelling can amplify ecological solutions and help a generation to see hope where others see crisis.
So today, spending time with Abigail has shown me that telling climate stories isn't just about the data. It's about the people, it's about their hopes and the power of one voice to spark a wider conversation. And it's also a reminder that storytelling itself is a form of climate action. What stands out most is how her platform empowers young people to see themselves as part of the solution, just like Paul Kaluki has been doing. It has made me think more deeply about my own role, about how we tell our stories and who gets to tell them. Because in the end, the climate story is our collective story and every voice truly matters.
They are tiny, but they keep the world alive. Pollinators, bees, butterflies, and other insects are absolutely vital for biodiversity. If they disappear, there would be an ecosystem breakdown and food insecurity. In cities, their habitats are disappearing as trees are being replaced by concrete. In Kampala, Uganda, activists are taking the issue of pollinator protection to the streets.
These runners in Kampala are not running from bees, they are running for them. This is the first edition of the Kampala Bee Run, a 5-kilometer race that wants to raise awareness for the importance of pollinators like bees and butterflies.
Cities world over, like Kampala, have recorded a decline in the number of pollinators. A third of the food that we depend on depends on the vital work of these species. But due to land degradation, loss of habitats for these pollinators, climate change, intense use of pesticides and chemicals, their numbers have been declined and we've risked losing them world over.
Hanenton Serwanga is a local environmentalist involved in organizing the Bee Run. He is dedicated to transforming empty spaces in Kampala to oases for pollinators. And that's also what runners and volunteers do along the racetrack of the Bee Run, planting trees and flowers that should attract the useful insects.
We are not just going to do the planting, but we are planting species of plants that have nectar that can support the diversity of these insects. So we are specifically wanting to focus on nectar species of flowers and trees.
As we can see, we have a lot of land but less trees and more houses. So we should protect the pollinators by planting more trees, lifting them up, and building a better generation.
Our next report comes from Lagos. This is where I live, and I do love this great big city, but it often grapples with the issue of pollution, as most other big cities in Africa. As you can see, there is heavy traffic here, and that's only one of the reasons why air quality is bad. Another is poor waste management. So what can be done to improve the situation? Well, it starts with getting up early in the morning.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning in Lagos. These early birds are about to run a marathon. They're part of a movement called Urban Better Citizens, which is active in a number of African cities. It integrates physical activity and citizen science, promoting youth participation in its push for more sustainable and healthier urban environments.
We'll be going out with this mobile air quality sensor and Urban Better Citizens app to collect air quality data and also data about the environment and equally sensitizing people. And then along the way when we are going, we use the Urban Better Citizens app from our phone to capture what is happening around the environment at that time.
Lagos struggles with bad air quality, especially during the dry season. Gathering data is highly valuable for researchers, helping them analyze the extent of the problem, the first step in finding solutions. Air pollution comes from a number of sources, such as cars, open fires, or industrial emissions. Weather conditions can further influence air quality. Air pollution is measured by looking at certain chemical compounds in the air we breathe, mostly nitrogen compounds, sulfur oxides, carbon monoxide, ozone, and particulate matter or fine dust. The marathon runners are helping to create a map of the city's air quality. Road traffic and diesel generators are among the major pollution sources. The smoking of fish and open stove cooking, such as in this waterfront settlement, are further contributing factors. Prolonged exposure to a high concentration of these compounds can severely damage the lungs and is especially harmful for young and old people. Other members of the general public use the Citizens app too, uploading information on the urban environment. These women have spotted a pile of dumped garbage that has been burnt, as the charred remains reveal. They log their observation in the data app. A lot could be fixed with better trash management. Lagos produces 13,000 tons of waste every day, and the city's two major landfills are already full to the brim. As the waste breaks down, it releases harmful gases, including methane. The Lagos Waste Management Authority is in dire need of ideas and alternatives. There are plans for waste-to-energy plants, a biogas facility which could fuel buses in Lagos, as well as more recovery facilities for recycling waste. To build citizen awareness, the Lagos Waste Management Authority, or LAWMA, sends advocacy officers to markets to inspect, educate, and help with complaints. This woman tells them about a problem with waste collection here by a private contractor or PSP operator.
You could see the market women complaining. We gave them the LAWMA toll-free line for them to freely and easily, they can call. It's a toll-free line from an Airtel line for them to pass their grievance. Then LAWMA has PSP coordinators all across. Where PSP operators are not doing the needful, we call them to order.
There has been progress in other areas. LAWMA introduced new recycling and waste bins in 2022, fitted with a chip to track collection. Households are required by law to buy the bins and subscribe to weekly pickup, but many just cannot afford the $50 containers, and not all settlements are reachable. In the meantime, the runners have finished their marathon. The data they collected on their run reveals heavy pollution in some areas where it exceeds critical levels.
I'm going to go to the graph now. So you can see when we started, it was from moderate and then going to red. When we got to some point, it came down to yellow. The smoke kept coming up between Iraja and Makoko area. You can visibly see it in that place.
They present the data to the Lagos Environmental Protection Agency and discuss ideas to improve the situation. Even if progress is slow, awareness of air quality is an important step in improving living conditions in Lagos.
Sadly, we all know that rivers are often used as dumping grounds for waste. We head to Europe, a city in Western Germany, where a group of volunteers meet on a regular basis to clean a local river. That might not sound like fun, but this project shows that when people work as a team and share a purpose, even collecting garbage, well, can feel rewarding. And sometimes they find the strangest things.
Lurking in the River Larne, stuck deep in the mud, an old truck tyre. A challenge for the Larne divers, a volunteer group aiming to clean up the river in their city. We all know rivers flow into the sea, so if you clean the rivers, you prevent microplastics and waste from entering the sea. That has a positive impact there too. A cut from broken glass in the river sparked the group's founding in the city of Marburg in 2020. The injured woman set out with friends to clean up the swimming area and found the river was a dump. Jonas has been part of the team for 3 years. He takes care of salvaging and transportation. We've just found a trumpet. That's pretty unusual. We more often find bicycles and roadwork signs. Underwater visibility is extremely poor, dangerous for divers who can get tangled up in fishing lines. So they use oxygen tanks, even though the river here is only 1.5 meters deep. World War II munitions can also turn up, but finds are often more mundane. So far, the environmentalists have recovered around 20 tons of waste in over 100 dives. Every bit of waste removed counts. It's a huge task, but the Larne divers have set themselves a clear goal: to free their river of trash. 60% of the rubbish is scrap metal, thoughtlessly tossed into the river, out of sight, out of mind. Raising public awareness of this fragile, complex habitat is just as important. Here's a European crayfish. Like many of her fellow divers, Annika is training to be a biologist. We have native mussel species. They filter water. If there are microplastics in the water, they filter less. These mussels can actually ensure our water is clean, but they can't if they can't filter. It's a bit frustrating when we see, often near bridges, 3 more shopping carts and 2 more bikes, where we just cleared a month ago. Educating the public is as vital as the dives themselves. At their information stand, the Larne divers showcase their most unusual finds. They have more than 15,000 followers on Instagram. Well-known green influencers like marine biologist Robert Maert Lehmann also support their cause.
Herzlich willkommen zu einem neuen Video.
The group runs entirely on donations. In 2023, they won the Planet Hero Award and €110,000 in prize money. It came just in time, as diving and gear are costly. The Iran-born artist Ezan is also an integral part of the team. He's going to create a sculpture from the trash. First of all, it's about visualization. For example, 2 tons of rubbish means nothing. But when you see an image made from 2 tons of rubbish, you realize just how much it is. This time, Ezan is going to try his hand at recreating one of Marburg's landmarks, the Kaiser Wilhelm Tower. Over the course of the day, he pieces together a 12-meter-long mosaic from the mud-smeared objects, a striking reminder of our throwaway culture. But the artwork too is short-lived. The very next morning, the scrap ends up at the local recycling centre.
Cotton is a natural fiber that is grown across the African continent, but it's not very sustainable. It needs a lot of water to grow. In a remote part of Senegal, around 200 women have joined forces to revive a local cotton-like crop that requires very little water. For centuries, it was used for making fabric, but the 20th century saw a decline in the use of traditional crops. Now, though, hand-woven cloths are making a comeback.
The spirit that protects the house. That's the name of this crocheted sculpture that exhibited at the Dakar Art Biennale in late 2024. It's the work of artist Fatim Soumaré and women from 5 Senegalese villages. Hundreds of hands were involved in weaving and crocheting this work. That is what gives it its scale and impact. The idea is that visitors can step under the installation to engage in a dialogue with the space and with the installation. We traveled to the place where the sculpture was made, around 150 kilometers south of Senegal's capital. The Sine Saloum Delta is a vast labyrinth of water channels and islands. In the village of Marloge, women have been spinning a locally grown cotton for generations. The traditional fale thread is made by hand. Fatim Soumore has revived this almost forgotten craft. She founded the Fale Collective, providing new equipment, including so-called echevadors, to straighten and wind the thread into bundles once it's been spun. The women earn the equivalent of 10 euros by spinning 1 kg of cotton. This work feeds us and our children. Even if it's just for water, it helps us survive. I want this work to continue. This is the end product that we receive in the workshop when we go to the village to collect these materials. These are magnificent textiles, and as you can see, they vary depending on the hand that spun it. In the Sine Saloum Delta, the plant grows in salty soil where it's able to thrive. The wild cotton requires no artificial irrigation, no fertilizer or chemicals. Unlike industrial cotton, which grows in monocultures and devours vast amounts of water, this plant has adapted to the harsh climate. This cotton has been here since the time of our ancestors. When I was young, our parents took us to the fields to harvest it. Our grandfathers taught us how to pick the cotton. They then softened it with tools and spun it into thread, which they wove into a loincloth. These loincloths are used for traditional weddings, circumcisions, and accompany our dead to their final resting place. The wild cotton is studied at the University of Sheikh Anta Diop in Dakar. Plant biologist Mustafa Sagna says the species reproduces by creating fibers that envelop the seeds, ensuring they're carried away by the wind or passing animals. In fact, when any species produces fiber, that fiber is primarily meant for the purpose of survival. Of course, we use it for other purposes, but this fiber is basically what allows the species to spread in its natural environment. The women are now trying to plant the wild cotton near their villages. The yarn is processed in the Fele Cooperative Studio. The carpets, cushions, and other pieces designed here are not yet made entirely from the hand-spun organic cotton. Harvesting fale on the remote islands is laborious and expensive. Each roll of fale yarn involves a lot of work by hand. As yet, we can't harvest enough fibers from this cotton plant to use it for our creations fully. But little by little, we are making progress. We now have a few hand-spun spools of brown cotton. The wild cotton offers another advantage. It makes the soil more fertile. In 2023, women from the Fale Cooperative started an experiment. They planted 200 seedlings on 3 hectares of salt-encrusted land. Only a few survived, but the impact was huge. For the first time in decades, they were able to grow rice there again. Now, unusually tall wild grass has taken over the fields. This was a deserted area with very salty soil. We started by watering the land and planting small cotton seedlings, which we were told would help reduce the salinity levels. As the soil improved, we planted rice. Now, thanks to God, the salt levels have dropped significantly. Fatim Soumere has always loved textiles. Her mother used to dye fabrics for a living. Today, she's weaving a new sculpture, and not just with any yarn. I know where it comes from. I know its story, the story of the one who spun it. I'm carrying on this tradition, weaving myself into a collective practice. With every thread, she continues the history of the Fale textile craftswoman, the legacy of thousands of hands.
That kind of traditional craftsmanship is so valuable. It is about history and identity, and it is also about sustainability. Well, we hope you enjoyed the show, so let us know your thoughts by writing to echo@dw.com. I'm Malama Mukonde in Lusaka, Zambia. It's goodbye.
And don't forget to check out our social media channels. Goodbye from me too, Chris Alems in Lagos, Nigeria. See you next time.